Welcome, everybody. This is great to have you at our Yale Alumni Nonprofit Alliance board match. This is either the third or fourth. I think it's the third one I've participated in, and our opportunity to introduce nonprofits who are part of our YANA network to many alumni who are interested in board service. So most of the nonprofits that we work with and participate in Board Match are emerging, are young nonprofits or small nonprofits that are at some inflection point.
Hmm.
So they're developing the first professional boards, or they're transitioning from founder-led governance to structured leadership, or they're organizations that are growing and looking for a higher level of specialization on their board. And so these are really the opportunities that for those of you who are looking for board roles, I think they can really be transformational and make a huge difference in these nonprofits. All of the nonprofits in YANA are Yale-led or very closely Yale-adjacent. We have some good friends of Yale who are part of our network. And we've done some initial collecting data and just ensuring basic structural and governance things with these nonprofits before we're bringing them forward to present to you as the alumni. And also all the participants who are looking for board members are Yale alumni, and that's about the extent of the vetting we do, but at least we know that they're in kind of our orbit.
Hmm.
So each organization tonight, we have six tonight. We hope to have seven, but one of the presenters is ill and will not be able to join us tonight. So we'll have six. We'll present their mission and impact and specific board needs. And in a kind of structured way, we share the outline of a presentation so you can get similar information about each of the nonprofits. And the idea is to give you a sense of who they are, what they're looking for in board members, and their expectations of board members in terms of time and effort and fun and money and support. Jan is the matchmaker. We hope to have some sparks fly. And this will start conversation between you and the leadership of the nonprofits about how you might support them. Each organization has about 10 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for questions, and we'll monitor the chat for questions. Also, you have the contacts of all the nonprofits who are here in the link that Rachel has dropped in or is about to drop into the chat, which goes to a Google folder, which has information each of the nonprofits provided about their organization, as well as some other documents they wanted to share with you. So we encourage you also to reach out directly following the event. So again, we hope to start conversations, but after that, it's up to each of you to pursue what you heard here and your continuing conversations and relationships with nonprofits or individuals. Lastly, I'll try to be strict about time to ensure that everybody has the same opportunity to present. We have a little extra space because of the six instead of the seven presentations, but it's still a pretty packed agenda. So with that, we have bought a couple minutes, and I think we'll get started. The organizations were assigned their slots randomly. So there's no particular order to this, and other than the random allocation, and I'm not going to do any more introduction. They'll introduce themselves. So with that, we're going to start with Y Vote and Randy Fraser.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Naomi, and thank you everyone for having me. It's really a pleasure to one speak to you all tonight, but also just give sort of breathe some life into what this thing is, Y Vote, that we call Y Vote. It is really exciting to also share that we have four Yale alumni who are currently attending. And I also started in my role earlier this year. So I just joined the Y Vote team in this capacity as the executive director in January. So just to preface our conversation, Naomi, do I have an opportunity to share my screen?
Rachel? And I was sorry, I'm gonna interrupt. I was very negligent not to present Rachel.
No, that's
Introduce Rachel.
fine.
I
Don't
think
worry about
everybody
me.
knows Rachel Lippman, who's the co-chair of vice president of the board of directors of YANA, the co-chair of the program committee, and kind of my partner in all of this. And also she's the whiz with the Zoom.
All right,
So
Randy, you should be able to share if you give it a shot.
Perfect. Let's
Thanks, Rachel.
try
No problem.
this. All
Yep,
right. Are
can see
folks
you.
able to see that? Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So while I just get my bearings here. So a little bit about me. Again, my name is Randy Fraser. I have the privilege of serving as executive director of YVotes. I started out my career really in youth work in service of young people. And that's also how I found myself leading a youth service organization. I am a Posse scholar. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Posse Foundation, but that has really been a pivotal moment in my own professional trajectory, and really sparked this sort of civic curiosity and activism within me. From that college experience, I went on to serve as a high school teacher and then run several nonprofit after school programs. Most recently, I was at SEO, the sponsors for Educational Opportunity based in New York City. And then I shortly left there to oversee the YVO program. YVO, again, is a youth-led civic organization. Our mission is really to empower New York City youth, high school students to lead and engage civic change, both at and beyond the ballot box. And so for us, our model, again, is youth-led. It's really community-rooted. And our mission is ensuring that every student is equipped to influence change, not just at the ballot box, but also through sustained action. So our leadership pipeline, and as I mentioned before, all of our programs are really for young people by young people. And so what that looks like is young people are really integrated and infused at every portion of our organization. And so our young people not only serve as participants of the programs, but they're actually leading and facilitating those programs. They're designing the curriculum that is shared and facilitated to our young participants. They also run all of our social media, which I will get into in a moment. And then we have newly created roles for an alumni council where we're trying to cultivate some action and really continue this momentum with our alumni, and folks who we consider alumni are those young people who are in college. So our leadership pipeline begins with Democracy Camp, and this is really our foundational program. I liken it to a civics 101. What is democracy? Who am I as a young person? Who are the change makers and the people who can affect change in and around New York City? And then they participate in our Changemakers Institute. That is similarly, it's the 2.0 version to the program. So now that we've sort of theorized and thought about all of these potential problems, how do we activate ourselves and really take this discourse into practice? And so our young people are identifying specific changes or challenges that they see in New York City and specific solutions that they can then present to elected officials. And so we have a really wonderful partnership with Jumaane Williams, who's the current public advocate in New York City. And himself and folks from his office participate in what we call our change makers sort of Shark Tank-esque, where the young people present their solutions to New York City's most basic problems that really trouble and impact our young people in the community. The last program of our structured programs is our Civic Fellowship. This is our national program. It is online, so it's the only virtual program that we have. It allows us to reach young people in different states and regions across the country, and really serves as the civic incubator. So again, those discourse conversations are happening. Young people are finding that, troubles and issues are not unique to their own regions and cities, and that there's this collaborative work that really empowers us to think differently about how we approach some of the problems. We recognize that, we have a lot of young people who want to be involved and stay engaged. However, they either go off to college or they just don't have the bandwidth to stay in a structured program, either because they have home responsibilities, after school work, and things like that. And so we've created pathways for unstructured programs. And that's really through what I call our Media Labs group. Our Media Labs are those young people who run, as I mentioned earlier, all of our socials. So our Instagram is cultivated and curated by our young people. They create the content calendar. We run a podcast where we're inviting civic change makers, folks that really resonate with our young people, that they would like to be in conversation with, that they think can either raise light or highlight an issue, or speak to solutions that we want to see enacted in and around New York City. In addition to our podcast and our socials, we also have a blog that the young people are writing for. And through that, we've championed several different legislative work. Most recently, we've supported the change for voting age to 16, and also the change in election cycle to match local and state elections with sort of federal elections, to increase energy and momentum. So the last portion of our unstructured program is really one of my favorites. It's the Youth Civic Hub. It is our digital platform. Since its launch in 2024, we've had about 10,000 annual visitors to the site. And really what the Youth Civic Hub is a young person led and designed website platform where we have a civic glossary, where we're teaching and educating young people about civic tools, especially about civic words and terms, especially things that they don't normally hear, like gerrymandering or redlining. And it's important for them to understand those terms and how they impact the young people. In addition to that, we have a power map. So it shows all of the electeds in New York City, their issues, and their platforms to increase educating our young people and those who are doing some of the work on the ground. And then what I'm most excited about, and where we're actually going next with our Youth Civic Hub, is really thinking about information, and how we can combat mis and disinformation. We live in a world where social media is, accessible easily to our young people. And we've partnered with Discourse Labs, which does significant work with the University of Chicago, and University of Washington. And they do a lot of AI research. And they have this Art Leo curriculum and these discourse maps that really allow us to hone into the mis and disinformation. And so young people will be able to go on to the site, and we'll have different topics, let's say mental health, because we want to teach our young people how to support one another's mental health in a increasingly political climate. And so they will be able to go and learn about how to support mental health, or how to have conversations around civic discourse that are rooted in facts. And so the discourse maps are sort of pick your own adventure. It might give you a top line like mental health is important to ensure young people have the tools and resources to be successful. Yes or no? And then yes, and then all of these sort of fact-based resources that can give young people the confidence to speak about issues. And mental health is only one of the many topics that we have planned for the Youth Civic Hub. Moving along to our youth engagement process, it's really 4 core areas. So research, solutions, actions, and skills. Our students are identifying the issues that they care about. They are developing and proposing real solutions to real life elected officials and change makers. The action projects that they are creating are student led and they're community based. So if there is control meaning young people have the agency and autonomy to address or either combat an issue that they recognize. We help them create action projects that will at least move the needle towards solving said problem. And then the last piece is all about skill building. So in addition to the civic skills, our curriculum is aligned and all of our programs are aligned to the New York State Ed civic domains. And we also are preparing our young people to be civic ready. There is in New York City the civic readiness, and there's a geez, I'm blanking on the specific term, but New York City has a designated curriculum. It's through Civics for All. And essentially, young people go through a host of projects, modules, and things to make them civic ready. And schools and young people can get this designation through specific intentional programs. And our program is designed to make them eligible for that distinction.
And you have
Um,
about 2 minutes. Do you maybe want to jump to what you're looking for in board members?
Yes. I just want to share some numbers really briefly. So in total, since our founding in 2017, we've had the opportunity to serve about 2,500 young people. This year alone, we've had 28 sessions, which total about 80 programmatic hours. As I mentioned, our Youth Civic Hub gets about 10,000 viewership per year. So we've reached 5,000 as of May when I last checked. And then this year, we've been able to serve 250 young people. And so we're really in need of board members to take us to the next level. And what that looks like for us and what we're seeking is really leadership, leaders who can connect us to different networks and folks who are passionate and really mission aligned to the work. We're looking for fundraisers, folks who can help us think about fundraising in different capacities. When I joined the organization, YVote was heavily foundation based. Almost 98% of the revenue dependent on foundations. And so, as you all know, that is not fiscally sustainable. And so I've done tremendous amount of work to diversify our funding pool, but we certainly need more help through a robust board. The last two pieces I'll mention is governance. So our board has currently acted in an advisory capacity, which means there's no real true oversight for the organization. And we need that to one, be responsible, to be accountable, but to make sure that we have the support and tools that we need to be successful. And the last piece, which is probably the most important, is the financial oversight and fiscal responsibility of the organization, knowing that we have folks who have the financial acumen to give me the advice, steer the team with some good financial best practices, and set us up for the best success. Um, Expectations. So right now, as we transition, we're looking to have about 15 board members. We are looking to host about 5 board meetings per year. Typically, those will alternate from in-person to virtual. We have several advisors who are not currently in the city, and we've been able to make the virtual space work for our board meetings. You're looking at about a 4 to 6 hour commitment per month, and we're looking for a 5,000 give get per board member.
Okay, I think that's a great place to stop. Thank you so much. There's the contact information for continuing the conversation. And again, if you look in the folder, there's more information about the Y vote and all the organizations and ways to reach Randy. And I'm going to turn it over to Corin.
Thank you all.
Great job, Randy. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time. So, Corin, Iskra, happy to be with you all today. Happy Giving Tuesday. Let me get this slideshow going over here. All right. Can we all see the screen?
Not yet. There we go. Yep.
All right, excellent. All right, so my Yale affiliation, I came through the Public Health and School of Management program with a master's degree about 20 years ago. I'm somewhat embarrassed to say, but has really helped set me up for success in my career right now. I am a board member, so our executive director, Kyle, is doing some Giving Tuesday events today, but has asked me to come and share some information about our organization. Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to play this YouTube clip, but we've got it in the documents that Naomi and Rachel kindly linked to this meeting. But I'll share that the mission of FriendshipWorks is really to address social isolation in older adults. And I know this has become even more popular in the press of late, just given all the medical implications. There was a recent study, in addition to the Surgeon General's study a few years back, about the impact of emergency room utilization, given older adults that may be feeling isolated or lonely. FriendshipWorks was started in Boston 40 years ago through a Robert Wood Johnson grant and has since diversified funding and diversified programming to be able to continue to offer 5 core programs to older adults in the region. So just some stats here in terms of the need around social isolation and loneliness and the impact it can have to health. In terms of the programs that I mentioned earlier, there's 5 core programs, and this is a nonprofit entity that really leans on volunteers. So we create matches based on older adults that express interest in being part of these programs. And often we're matching with volunteers who are college-age students. And these students, or anyone who's interested in volunteering, will go to the older adult home or meet in a common setting to do friendly visiting or friendly helping. So it may be sitting down having a cup of coffee. It may be helping set up their laptop and adjust to Zoom, like we did quite a bit during COVID. We also have a program of medical escort. We know that there are a lot of feelings sometimes when individuals, especially older adults, need to go to an appointment, maybe need another set of ears to listen to what's happening, maybe need some help with transportation getting there. So medical escort is one of our programs that has been the most studied in terms of outcomes and impact to the older adults. And then we have 2 group programs that we offer. One is MusicWorks. We know that both music and pets really create certain emotions and feelings in individuals and are great shared experiences. So we partner with the Berklee School of Music here in Boston to offer MusicWorks at assisted living facilities, and then pets that are able to graduate through our rigorous training and verification go and visit groups of older adults as well. And then just some stats on the left, as you would imagine, it's a lot of one-to-one, older adults that are participating in this, but we have seen an increase over the years pretty steadily, as well as the number of volunteers who are engaged with the program. So in terms of upcoming priorities, and I won't read these little quotes, but this is just to give you some qualitative feedback of what participants and volunteers are saying, because it very much is a two-way street. Given the pressure on just the nonprofit world in general, we're really focused on sustainability right now. We get most of our funds from individual donors. Second is corporate donations. We're really trying to think about how to diversify, how to build sustainable resources as we go into the next 40 years of our program. Along with that comes program evaluation. We've partnered with some universities and other evaluators to evaluate the opportunities that we have for older adults. That is a continuation and a work in progress. And then as we see opportunities to partner with other nonprofits, be it in the Boston area where we're based, or nationally, we continue to think of different ways we can share skill sets and reach more people. So our current board is 9 individuals. We, per our governance, are allotted up to 15. So there certainly is space for others who are passionate about our mission to join our team on the board. Like I mentioned earlier, really thinking through that funding piece, that development piece. I know that was some of the key skill sets that Randy mentioned as well. Certainly commitment to our mission is important. Being dedicated to really improving the quality of life with individuals. Volunteer engagement, given that that's a big piece of our model, is important as well. I wrote on here, comfortable challenging the status quo. As I mentioned, we've been around for 40 years offering these services, and I think we've been able to do it because we've constantly evolved to the changing landscape and the changing needs. And so that comfort in thinking through how things can be better, how things can be different is really important. We have monthly board meetings. Most of us serve on a committee, being the governance committee or fundraising committee. But those are not requirements to participate in a committee. The requirement is to participate in the board meeting, which is a couple hours every month. And then lots of us are involved in other types of activities for planning our annual gala, and so some of us are pulled into that. There's no formal give-get requirements, but we do ask board members that are able to donate $2,500 or fundraise that piece, as well as have FriendshipWorks being one of the top 3 charities that individuals give to. And then there's a couple links here. I believe they're in the attachment that we put together earlier as well about a podcast that we recently did, and then a link to each of the board members' bios that really talks about why we participate in the board and what we personally are proud of in terms of what we've been able to contribute. And then here's my information. If anyone would like to contact me, I'm more than happy to talk further about this, and or if I have a minute or two and there's any questions, I'm happy to field those as well. Naomi, did I pull it off in the time frame?
You did, Corin. Thank
Okay.
you so much. So we have a couple minutes. If anyone has questions that they'd like to ask Corin, I can go back to the gallery and you can raise your hand or type something into the chat. Okay, and if not, then we're going to keep moving. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Are you here, Kate? Did not see her logged in.
I'm right here.
Oh, I see you logged in as me. There you go. It's a tricky thing.
I'm not quite sure how I acquired your name, honestly.
Because I sent you the link that was sent to me, not realizing it came with my name. So if you go to the upper right corner where there's the 3 dots and the list, you'll say rename right at the bottom, and you can type your name.
There we go. There we go.
Sorry for the confusion.
No worries.
Okay, here we have Kate from Uptown Stories. Over to you.
Thank you, Naomi. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you all for your time. I think that our time is our most valuable resource right now, and as a board member, I recognize that you, by donating your time, are really giving to these organizations one of, your most precious resources. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to put my deck up. Uptown Stories. So I founded Uptown Stories in 2014. I had been working as a middle school history and English teacher for about 25 years. And I myself was also a fiction writer. I got my MFA at Vermont College. So writing and education were kind of the 2 pillars that always drove me. But what I noticed as a teacher was how so many of the kids that I worked with really hated writing. When I would give a writing assignment, they would kind of grumble and moan. They, wanted to do just about anything else besides writing. And when I thought about it, I didn't blame them, honestly, because a lot of the writing assignments that we give in school, particularly for younger kids, are very constrained. Some version of a 5-paragraph essay with a certain number of quotes or details. There was almost no creative writing happening in the schools. And so I had this question, what would happen if we allowed kids to write what they wanted to write instead of telling them what to write? What if we didn't grade their writing? We just let them write for themselves. And what if we taught them how to write in the way that we do in graduate school, giving them craft lessons from experts? So that's how Uptown Stories was born. A lot of you might be thinking, well, why writing now, especially with AI? Can't AI do this for us? I like to say that AI is really good at creating prose, but it doesn't create souls. And we need to save these kids' souls right now because writing is a way that we become ourselves, that we understand who we are, what we believe, um, what we imagine. And it is really part of a healthy human being's tool set, I would say. You need to know how to write, no matter what you do in life, no matter what job you have. And by sharing their stories with each other, it's really one of the best ways to build an empathic community. It's one way that kids can communicate even when they don't go to the same school, don't live in the same area. They can share their stories and start to appreciate each other. Um, so I believe that creative writing is very important, even though there isn't a lot of it happening in the schools. What do? We have workshops for kids ages 8 to 18. So the full gamut, pretty much once they're able to write. They happen all year round, after school, in school, weekend, summer. All the ones open to the public are pay what you can. That's very important. So you have to pay something. You could pay $5. You have to pay something, but you just pay what you can. And about 75% of our families pay reduced tuition. We also have workshops in many local public schools and other CBOs. Like there's a harm reduction program at New York Presbyterian where we run a workshop. We've done workshops with Red Door, with kids who have parents with cancer. And right now we're in year 2 of a 5-year contract with New York State, providing free workshops at 3 local low-income schools. But you can see from the genres here that these are not the things that kids usually get to write. They get to write horror stories. They get to write romance. They get to write flip books. They get to do comics. And what's amazing about that is that when kids are able to write the things that they want to write, that they're excited about, they actually work really hard on their writing. They put in a lot of time and detail. Our teachers are phenomenal. They have to be, because to get a kid to come and write after school when they've already been in school all day, you really need rock stars. All of our teachers are practicing artists and writers in their field as well. So if you're teaching poetry, you're a poet. If you're teaching playwriting, you're a playwright. They're very experienced in working with kids as well. And many of our students come back year after year after year as much to work with a certain teacher as to work on their fiction or their poetry. As a culminating activity, we always have a reading, typically at the Word Up Community Bookshop, which is also in Washington Heights. And for many kids, this is the first time that they get to share their writing with their family and friends in public, on a microphone like a real writer. So this is an experience as well in public speaking. They usually are a little nervous at first and then get better at it. And finally, this is one of my favorite things, we publish books. We publish about 7 books a year containing all of the writing from the kids, typically one semester. And these books are about 500 pages long. They have comics, they have screenplays, they have poems, they have all the student work, and the kids get a free copy. And then the books themselves are for sale at the local bookstores as well as on Amazon, which is thrilling for some of them. And since we started, we have served over 5,000 young people and published over 17,000 pages. So they are prolific. And I have to say, it's very entertaining. It's really good too. If you take a look at their work, which you can do online, I think you would be surprised. Some statistics. You can see we served over 500 kids last year, which is really impressive considering that our budget is still less than $1 million. 63% of our students are returning, which shows you that they are dedicated to this program. They want to come back. And that is very much intentional. I believe that change happens when you work inch wide, mile deep. When you're not trying to solve, like, I'm not trying to make this into a program for all of the city. I'm not trying to make it into a program for the whole country. This is a program for Uptown, for north of 125th. But there are over 20,000 kids in this neighborhood, and they are significantly, most of them are living below the poverty line. So by serving this neighborhood very intentionally, we are able to serve those kids more deeply, to have relationships with them that build over time. And the average student takes about 4 workshops with us. Responsibilities as a board member. We combine the give, get, and volunteer minimum together. So if you want to make all of your contributions as a volunteer, we value those hours at $35 an hour, but we have a base of $2,000. We ask that you participate in our major campaigns and events, like we have a reading coming up on December 13th. We're definitely looking for folks who can introduce us to new funding sources, grantors, your business, your rich uncle, whatever it might be. But mostly we're looking for people who have professional experience that they can lend to support what is still a very small, kind of a lean, mean organization. We have about 5 full-time staff members. So everyone is incredibly efficient, but we need people who can help us make a strategic plan, particularly, I would say, for the next 3 years. We're looking for about 3 to 5 hours a month. We have a quarterly board meeting, quarterly committee meetings, and then there's, your various scheduled conversations with other people that are more informal. We're a small board at the moment. We only have 5 members right now. We lost a few people due to conflicts of interest when they were elected onto the New York State Congress, and so could no longer participate because they are funders for us. So we're looking to nominate and onboard 4 new members ideally this year, and to really think about how the board can most efficiently support our organization. We're hoping to raise $40,000. And just to get the word out, because Uptown Stories is like the secret that nobody's trying to keep. Most people, when they hear about us, they're like, that sounds great. Why have I never heard about you? And that's because this is mostly still just me doing the talking. What are we looking for? We're looking for someone who is committed to this mission to empower young people in Upper Manhattan to write and publish their own stories. We're looking for people who want to be actively engaged, not just sort of mail your check and sit and wait and see what the board meeting says, who want to roll up your sleeves. We are particularly looking for people in finance, in law, we could use a lawyer, in education, in publishing, event planning, technology, individual giving, corporate support. Those are the areas that we really lack a board member with expertise. Or if you have a connection to Uptown, geographically or culturally, folks up here. It's kind of like a very tight-knit community up here. And so we're always looking for people who feel passionate about this community. If I have the time, I'm just going to give you an example. So this is Sienna. Sienna started at Uptown Stories when she was 9 years old. That's her on the left with like the faux fur vest and the red patent leather shoes at her first reading. She participated in 10 workshops up until she was 17. Now she is actually an alumna board member. That's how much she cares about Uptown Stories. But I'm going to let her say something here.
Whatever point of adulthood you're at, we all have that person inside of you who somebody may have stripped you of your creativity, or somebody may have tried to tone you down, and you never had that place, that outlet, that environment to be able to nurture your inner self before the world tried to strip you of it. With Uptown Stories, you're able to preserve your open-mindedness, your thinking, your creativity. So you'd be giving a person, a human, a chance at thinking big and saving that throughout their life, nurturing that throughout their life.
She's amazing. I'm so proud of her. She graduated from Baruch and now she just got a job in finance in Boston. So she's just one example of the hundreds of kids that we serve. But I think that if you are interested in being part of something that is really exciting and positive, I think of that quote by Adrienne Rich that despair is a failure of imagination. I'm shortening it there, but there is a lot of imagination at Uptown Stories, and there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of joy. So if you would like to be a part of that, please email me. There's a little quote here from David Nunez. It's a lot of great people doing great work. So if you're interested, shoot me an email. I'd love to talk.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you, Naomi.
We have a couple minutes if anyone has a question for Kate now.
Yeah, I'm happy to take questions.
I'm going to look up the book.
Yeah, here.
It sounds really great.
While I'm here, we can do show and tell. So here's one book. You can see one of the things I love is that all the kids have their bios and headshots in the back. So they're all published. These are in the Library of Congress.
Oh, that's spectacular.
And they're real physical books, not just digital books.
I can imagine how exciting that is for the kids.
It is the best day when they get their books. Yeah, it's absolutely the best day.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to move on to Deborah Levine and LearnServe International.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Naomi, and all of you for participating and being here. And just also kudos to all the organizations that we've heard about. I mean, they're really inspiring. So great to hear about that. I'm here to talk about LearnServe. I'm going to talk for about a minute, and then LearnServe CEO, Scott Reckler, is also on the Zoom, and he's going to talk specifically in more detail about our programs. I'm just here as a board member to say, how I became interested in LearnServe. LearnServe is an organization that's based in Washington, D.C. We do have some global angles to our program, but essentially, my daughter, when she was in high school, participated, and I was immediately struck with the mission, which is empowering young people to create change. So basically, it's a social entrepreneurship program. And what we do is we help young high school, we bring together a diverse group of high school students from the DC area. And their first year of the program is 7 months, a school year. What is a problem in your community? What is an injustice that you've seen? And then what are you going to do about it? So they pitch and plan and launch social ventures. I've seen about 10 cohorts, and the range of programs that they come up with are just amazing. And I've just been super inspired by, seeing what our young people can do. And it's very similar to Why Vote. We really put young people in charge of this program. So all of this inspired me to join the board in 2020 and to really, enthusiastically support the program. So I think now I think he has some slides, and he's going to give you a little more detail about what we do in our programs.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And let me share here. All right, is that working for y'all?
Yes.
Amazing. Well, good evening to everyone, and I'm so glad to be here. I personally don't have a Yale connection, but my brother and sister-in-law are Yale Law School graduates, and my wife grew up in New Haven, so I feel proximate to Yale, though I don't have the direct connection there. But I'm grateful to Deborah for introducing me to this group, and in all the other organizations that just presented, because you all are doing some phenomenal work, and I'm kind of wishing that we had all those programs here in Washington, D.C. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Again, my name is Scott Reckler, and the question that I want to start with, just for you all to think for yourself, but if you feel inspired to put it into the chat, you're welcome to do so. When was the first time that you felt that you had the power to create change? So think back, whether that was in college, in high school, middle school, maybe even elementary school. When was that moment when you felt that power in yourself that you're like, hey, I could actually make something happen? And then as you think about it, who are those individuals in your life, maybe a parent, a teacher, a mentor, a program leader who helped you discover that power? And where would you be without those people and experiences? Or how did those individuals set you up for success in what you're doing today? And I like to lead with this because at the core of LearnServe's work is a belief in the power of young people to create social change. And it's something, and I especially appreciated and resonated with the Why Vote presentation, that oftentimes in society, that is not the expectation that we have of young people, that they are often seen as part of the problem, not part of the solution. And the entire orientation of LearnServe is really to put young people in that driver's seat where they are part of the solution, coming up with ideas and opportunities that will make an impact in their communities. For me, I've been thinking a lot about why this is so important. Back to when any of us were high school students, it was never easy being a teenager, and there are all the usual things that still exist of stress about grades and getting into college. Do I fit in? What about my friends? My parents don't understand me. But I think that on top of that, and especially with the prominence of social media, there have been layered on top of that all sorts of other issues, the existential threat of climate change. Gun violence has been a big issue that has faced many of our students here in DC. Employment opportunities, and this last one on the bottom left, does my country even want people like me here, is one that has been weighing heavily on me, and especially on many of our students, many of those who are from immigrant backgrounds. And even just now, as I was starting this presentation, saw a note from one of my neighbors saying that there are feds doing an arrest around the block from my house here in Washington, D.C., of undocumented immigrants. And so you think that that's all being concentrated in on these high school students. And really what we want to do is give those high school students an opportunity to take that trauma, that anxiety, everything that they're carrying with them, and translate that into a sense of agency and purpose, and release them out into the world after high school students with that power in their hands to actually create social change and make an impact. I won't share their full stories here, but the students here, so Velma on the far left is actually one of our newest board members as an alumna joining our board. Jordan, if we have time later, I can share with you the story that she took from a very awkward, shy student in 10th grade who joined us to now someone who's been a program leader and leading cohorts of students herself within LearnServe for the past 3 years, and Rediat, who's a PASI scholar who's doing some incredible work in her home community in Hidi, Ethiopia. And to sort of tie it all together, the trajectory of our students is really turning that anger into passion and that passion into action. And we hope to see that for all of our students. Programmatically, as Deborah alluded to, we've got a first-year fellowship program. We meet out of school time once to twice a week and guide students through the process of designing and launching a social venture project. These students are coming from all across the DC metro area, public, private, and charter schools, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, so bringing together students whose paths might not ordinarily cross, and saying, what pisses you off? What makes you mad in your communities? What do you want to do about it? And help them get that up and running. Those who choose to stick with us in a second year, we've got an incubator program that's a hybrid program, part in person and part virtual, where they can take a deeper dive into those issues. And the reason that it's part virtual is that students in the DC area have a chance to connect with peers at some of our partner organizations in Zambia, Costa Rica, and Paraguay, and an opportunity to really look at what does social change look like in a totally different country and context, and how can I be inspired by that? And then those students coming out of the incubator program have the opportunity to travel. So this summer we plan to have students traveling to both Zambia and Costa Rica to meet with their peers in country and to get this broader lens on social justice and social change work. So this is where our footprint is. We have core programs that we run ourselves here in Washington, D.C., and then through our program partners in Zambia, Paraguay, and Costa Rica, have cohorts of young people who are doing similar work. Some of the things that make LearnServe unique and I think for me really exciting, because here in the DC area, I haven't seen many others that combine these programmatic elements. So the first one is that the diversity of the students in the program is a feature of the program itself. It's not diversity as code word for students of color, but truly trying to bring together students from all across racial, socioeconomic, academic backgrounds, school types, neighborhoods, all in the common mission of how can we make our communities better. Second of all, as Deborah alluded to, we put students in the driver's seat. So they're the ones who are thinking about what those issues are that piss them off. It's not what I care about. It's not what Deborah cares about. It's what really matters to those young people. This local, global, and connection. So how does what I'm seeing here, how does that play out? What does youth mental health look like in Zambia? What does that look like in Costa Rica? What does climate adaptation look like in those different places? Helps them open their eyes and contextualize what they're seeing and living in their own communities. And then the last part, which is really important for us, especially coming out of the pandemic, is we've got our full programmatic curriculum. And then parallel to that, we offer one-on-one consultations or coaching sessions with students throughout the year, as well as professional development sessions to meet them where they're at and recognizing that they're coming to us with all the rest of their lives and everything they're thinking about and worrying about. And we need to engage them on that level as well. And so our hope is that students coming out of the program are empowered to take action, that this blend of social and emotional skills, business and professional skills, and this global perspectives and civic engagement really sets them up for success when they leave our programs. And what we've seen from our long-term impact assessments over the past looking back more than 20 years and more than 2,000 students that we've worked with, a number of impressive stats here, but the one that really resonates with me the most right now is that 98% of our alumni remain civically engaged after their LearnServe experience. That's with a relatively low threshold definition of civic engagement. So looking at, do you vote? Do you follow the news? But the part that's really stood out to me is that 2/3 of them are serving in leadership roles. So they are joining you all on boards of nonprofit organizations. They're founders of organizations that they've started. They're part of their kids' PTOs. These are folks who are curators and showing up to create opportunities in social change, not just consumers of volunteerism. And when I think about the world that we're living in right now and what's needed, we need many more people coming out of programs like this and the others that are presenting this evening, feeling that sense of power to drive change in their communities. And so what we're looking to do going forward, and as we bring on our next cohort of board members, really looking at two different dimensions. Part of it here in the Washington, D.C. region, we're thinking creatively about how we build out this entrepreneurial ecosystem around our young people. So what are the pipelines and pathways from schools and nonprofit organizations that feed into our programs, and then students that are with us for a couple of years? Who do we pass them along to continue that change-making and leadership journey? How do we build partnerships with companies that provide both financial sustainability to the organization, but also mentorship and guidance to the students, and media partnerships really to elevate the voices of young people in powerful ways. And then parallel to that, looking outside of the United States, we're really looking to build more of a turnkey model for our program partners so that if there are nonprofit organizations in other parts of Africa, Latin America, or even outside DC in the United States that say, we'd love to adopt this model and be part of this global conversation of young people creating change. How can we do that? We've got an easy plug and play way for them to be able to join this global community. And so with that, Deborah, I'll pass it over to you to talk a little bit about your experience as a board member and what we are looking for, and then we can take some questions. And you're on mute, Deborah. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Scott. Great. Yes. So right now we are a governing board. We have 10 board members, and currently it's a mix of alumni parents, communication and entrepreneurship professionals, educators, and as Scott mentioned, even we have alum on our board, which is a wonderful development. For expectations, we have 4 virtual board meetings a year and then 1 in-person retreat, which is essentially a full day, about 10 to 4. We are really looking for board members in the Washington, D.C. metro area. One of our expectations is, we're looking for people, of course, who are passionate about our mission and really care about young people and, all the wonderful things that Scott has detailed that our organization is doing. We, want people who want to show up at our events, want to be there when the students pitch do their 60-second elevator pitch, when they put on their longer presentations. So we want, people who show up, but as I think many of the organizations have said and will say, of course, we are also looking for people with expertise. We're looking for people with strategic planning and growth expertise, people who can introduce us to other funders. We have done a pretty good job of diversifying our funding, but in addition to being sustainable, we do want to grow, and that will require more resources. We're looking for people with finance experience, with legal experience. So we are looking for some expertise to really help us grow. And then in terms of give-get, what we ask is that LearnServe be one of your top 3 philanthropic organizations. And
Great.
Yeah. So with that, so glad to meet all of you, and thank you again for this opportunity to share with you all. And especially those of you in the DC area, but even beyond the DC area, would love to chat more, whether you're interested in board service or just curious to learn a little bit more about what we do, but really grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Scott and Deborah. That was terrific. I just love learning about these organizations. I just had a little side chat with Lisa Rieger about this is my favorite night board match. It's inspiring. Thank you. We continue to be inspired. Marked by COVID, Ryan.
All right. Let me just share my screen. All right. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
All right. Second. Get organized. Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. My name is Ryan Pukos. I'm the board secretary for Marked by COVID, and I have been volunteering with Marked by COVID since July 2020. Marked by COVID, we organize bereaved families to commemorate those lost to COVID, create an accurate historical record of the pandemic, secure economic security for those harmed, and address the systemic inequities that made COVID the deadliest in Black, Brown, Indigenous, and working class communities. Our connection to Yale is our co-founder, Kristen Urquiza. She lost her dad to COVID in June of 2020, early on in the pandemic. She's a college graduate, class of 2003. And as some of you know, she's also the executive director of YANA. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about some of our recent accomplishments, our long-term vision, and then, of course, the board opportunity. So first, I want to start with the accomplishments. So we have collected over the last 5 years over 20,000 personal remembrances, including stories, photos, and tributes that preserve the human toll of COVID for the national memorial that we're building. So it's just really important that that each one of these remembrances are a way of demonstrating that the people that were lost aren't statistics, that they're fathers and mothers, teachers and nurses and people whose lives matter to those who love them and knew them. Our community has also organized more than 500 memorials and vigils across the country, from small town gatherings to major city commemorations. These are all events where bereaved families have created space to grieve together, and in particular at a time when our culture wanted to move on. We have also secured COVID Memorial Day declarations in more than 250 cities and 13 states. Cities as large as Los Angeles and Seattle, and as small as Fort Mill, South Carolina. And these are examples of local government saying that these lives mattered, and that they're committing to marking a day on the calendar to remember. And then finally, we have built a digital community of over 100,000 engaged members who are both creating collective memory and driving real policy change, which is a pretty good segue to the next slide. I want to highlight what are really our most significant policy achievement to date, which would not have been possible without our engaged community of members. About 350,000 children were orphaned by COVID in the United States. Most of them come from low-income families of color, the same communities that bore the heaviest burden of loss throughout the pandemic. So through organizing, testifying, building coalitions, we worked to secure California's HOPE accounts, which is a baby bond program that provides trust accounts for COVID orphan children. It was a $115 million investment, and it's our biggest policy win to date. And currently, we're working with the state of California to ensure that the program is successfully implemented when it launches in January, actually. And we're already working to lay the groundwork to expand this model to other states as well. So our work really falls into three different pillars or buckets. The first one is commemoration and memorial making. So we are working to build the National COVID Memorial on the National Mall, and also leading the Remember Everyone campaign, which seeks to collect a remembrance for every single person lost to COVID. And then both, I'll just say both are about ensuring an accurate history is preserved, so that we can shape our future generations view this moment. The second one is economic security. So that's the HOPE accounts is a really good example of that. And then the third is health promotion. So we work with long COVID patients. We have conducted vaccine education in underserved communities. And I'll move to the next slide. So I want to highlight the National COVID Memorial, which is really what I would say is our most ambitious undertaking. It's a 10-year initiative that will require strategic planning, sustained fundraising, and unwavering commitment. And I want to point out a Yale connection, which Kristen, our executive director, can talk about so much more eloquently than I can. But the memorial and the concept draws on Yale's distinguished history and memory studies and monument making, and we kind of view ourselves as being kind of very much aligned with that tradition. We view the National Cover Memorial as being a place that honors those that the system failed to protect, and it will stand as a testament to the over 1.2 million American lives lost. So I want to talk for a second about why this matters. And this is kind of in connection with what I was talking about with Yale's history and memory studies. The existing U.S. commemorative landscape disproportionately venerates a limited few. Our monuments also traditionally focus on war and violence and not the diseases and systemic failures that claim everyday lives. And then, of course, communities of color are systematically denied historical representation in our public spaces. So our National Cover Memorial aims to fundamentally change this. We're committed to commemorating every single person lost to COVID-19. And I'll point out that the scale of that commemoration is impossible through traditional memorial designs alone. So we are pairing physical monuments with an innovative digital commemoration. So it's called the Marked by COVID lens. It's an augmented reality experience built from personal photos and tributes contributed by bereaved families. So you can kind of see a little bit, the pictures are a little bit small, but on the right of the screen, you can see the remembrance. That's actually Kristen's dad, our executive director's dad, Mark Anthony Urquiza, and that's his remembrance. And then you can see the spiral of other photos going up into the sky. That's what the augmented reality experience looks like. So let me talk about the board member opportunity, and which of course is why we're here tonight. So we need board members that can help us achieve the vision that I was talking about. So we're looking for governing and fundraising leadership. Our board includes impacted individuals, distinguished community members. We have a memory studies scholar on our board as well. I mentioned this in the form that we had to fill out, that we have an outgoing board member who has a lot of expertise in kind of financial planning and operations. So I will say that she's someone that we'll miss dearly, and we would also be looking to fill someone in that role with similar expertise. We're in a strategic growth phase, so we also need long-term planning, and I guess I'll say our needs are pretty similar to a lot of the organizations that we're also presenting as well. So in terms of what we're asking, so we hold quarterly 2-hour board meetings that are focused on strategic governance and oversight. We ask for 2 to 4 hours monthly, committing to helping some of our other programs. We also hold a annual half-day strategic planning session. And we welcome attendance at all of our events and memorials as well. Our board members serve renewable 2-year terms. And then the total commitment would be about 6 to 8 hours total per month. Regarding contributions, there's no specific amount required, but we ask that every board member contributes what they consider to be generous. You can be based anywhere in the world as long as you're proficient with basic remote collaboration technology. And then, I just want to end briefly just to kind of reinforce our vision. So we are working toward a nation that honestly remembers those whose lives COVID took and why, building systems that prevent future health crises from following the same deadly patterns of inequality. So I will go to the last slide. You can contact me at ryan@markmycovid.com with any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions if we have time right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. Another incredibly inspiring organization, the work that you're doing. We just have a minute or so. If someone has a question for Ryan.
Naomi Jeffrey Lewis has his hand raised.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Ryan. Question. Obviously, everything that you're doing contributes to sort of public awareness of, of COVID. But given the current situation with regard to vaccinations and the sort of attack on public health generally and on doing something about COVID in particular and recommending vaccinations, do you have any plans to address that on a national level or local level?
To address the vaccination specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that we have done a fair amount of coalitions work, working with other organizations that are that are doing all sorts of different types of vaccine work. We also have done a fair amount of outreach in our community as well. I will say for us, like we really our bread and butter really is the remembrance work, and we really see it as being kind of at the foundation of everything. So like we really think that, obviously that, the next pandemic is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. And, we just think that if we don't properly remember the true horror of the last,
Mhm.
5 years, that we are going to enter the next pandemic in a worse place than we were in 2020. And so, I will say like the vaccine work is not as it's not as central to what we're doing as it is perhaps for some other organizations, but we do always look for opportunities to partner with other organizations that are doing that work across the country.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks so much. And we're going to move on to our sixth and final presentation, ViviendasLeón. Evan.
Hi.
Uh,
I'm going to do something a little different to sort of finish out this evening. I thought I would ask anyone here on this call if any of you have traveled to Central America in your lifetime, or traveled to Nicaragua or Guatemala or any other country that's in Central America. So some number of you have some familiarity with those places.
I was on the board of a bank in Nicaragua once upon a time.
Bully for you. Is that bank still operating?
No, the Ortega regime nationalized it in the late 1970s.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was in Managua actually about a week after that horrible earthquake in 1972 at Christmas time, which killed 10,000 people in Managua. Yeah, so I have a long history with Nicaragua.
Nice.
I've been to León as well.
I don't have that long a history, but I started volunteering there in 1993. The organization that I founded with a co-founder in Nicaragua back in 2000, her name is Indiana Garcia. She's now in a PhD program in Missouri, believe it or not. Is an organization that sought to understand the complexity of rural poverty in Nicaragua as well as other countries in Central America. Today, and functioning with the same program for the last 15 years, and I want to talk about that a little bit. For over 15 years, since 2010, ViviendasLeón has transformed the lives of hundreds of women and their families living in rural poverty in Central America. Today, we work in two countries, Nicaragua, near the city of León, and in Guatemala, in the region known as the Lake Atitlan and Mayan Highlands region. These women that we, these women that we work with are routinely and normally culturally consigned to housework and raising children in these rural communities. Today, they're now financially independent, empowered. They keep their children in school and feed their families and their communities. We want to grow and deepen that achievement and need your help to do it. I'm not going to explain a lot about the organization as a long history, but what I will tell you is that we do have this one extremely effective program that really works with women to basically transform their lives and their family's trajectory, and is extremely successful. So I'll give you some details around that. In 2010, we developed a program in partnership with local organizations and specialists in Nicaragua to solve the most difficult problems the community faced: lack of agency, capacities, food, and income. We identified women as the most underutilized members of their rural communities and who were the most interested in trying new ideas to address their problems, especially through farming. All of the people that we work with and all the communities we work with consider themselves to be agrarian, and they have a long history of farming. So it wasn't a surprise that the women in particular, who often in rural communities and in ancient times were the ones who grew the food. We identified women as, so we interviewed women about what their families and communities needed. They focused on increased equality, social equality, food security, and work or income. We created a behavioral training program, not a skill training program, to help women see themselves as valuable members of their community and capable of taking on challenging work that would benefit their families. After training, each of the women began working on their own small farm, on their own small plots of land. Within a year, these women were earning at least 3 times per month what their husbands had been earning, feeding their families and communities, sending their children to school full time, and earning the respect of their families. I'm going to go to a document here just a second. Today, we have nearly 100 small farms in 4 communities between Nicaragua and Guatemala. There are more than 90 families engaged in farming, and their farms feed more than 4,000 people in total, and close to 100% of the population of each of these communities. Our goal today is to encourage you to consider joining our board of directors if you are a woman and have a family history in Latin America. This isn't a requirement, it's just an encouragement and part of our strategy for diversifying our board. If you're a person with extensive board experience or very little experience, we have a place for you. And if you have a community that you believe is also interested in the work we are doing in Central America, we welcome you. I'd like to, let me see here. I'd like to show a brief video. Let me see if I can do it without making a mess out of it. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I'm not sure that I can do this. Hold on. Let's see.
You should be able to share your screen and then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to share my screen and it's giving me all kinds of warning signals.
Evan, is it a URL link or is it saved locally?
It is, and I can take the URL link and I can put it in the chat
Yeah,
room.
you want to do that and I can try opening it?
I'll do that. I'll try it again. I'm going to do that now. I'll just pop it in there. And then let's see what happens. It might just start up right away, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just put it on pause. Hang on a second. I will.
I'm going to try to pause it, but it doesn't.
No, I got it. I just paused it. So give me a second. I'll show it.
She's a whiz.
That's all right. We'll have to play it a few times, maybe.
You see it?
Not yet. There we go. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I guess I'll click on this.
I think I have to do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Oop.
in Central America are living in poverty. 50% of all working adults are unemployed, and children under 5 years of age experience malnutrition at higher rates than anywhere else in the world. ViviendasLeón, a nonprofit organization founded in 2003, works in Nicaragua and Guatemala with a mission to eliminate poverty by empowering rural communities to be the agents of their own transformation. Our program empowers rural families not simply through aid, but by improving their capacities for resilience and cooperation, and building self-esteem and gender equality, while training for environmental stewardship, farming, and small business. ViviendasLeón's impact on rural families is transformative. With over 70 small farms in 2 countries producing food for more than 2,800 people, ViviendasLeón has solved the challenges of food insecurity. In the first year, families experience increased income, improved health, and stronger family relationships. Their children attend school full-time, and many complete college with professional careers, ending the cycle of poverty in their family. Entire communities benefit through access to fresh organic produce, enhancing their diets and improving health outcomes. ViviendasLeón is making a difference. Go to our homepage to learn more and follow us to watch our progress. You can also click our link tree to find our website and ways that you can get involved.
Okay, that's it. You can turn that off. I realize my presentation has been rather brief, but I hadn't intended to make it more complicated than it needed to be. We're an organization that is positioned to really expand our organization. The programming is very successful, and we really need to bring in more board members and actually increase our funding to do that. Our funding resources are actually very diverse. We have a lot. We have grants, we have donors, we have other sources of income. We have a travel program, actually an educational program that brings in a fair amount of income to our organization. It educates students in the United States about conditions and challenges of poverty in rural places in Central America. And if anybody is interested in the work that we do, I'd love to speak to you longer about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan. We have a minute if anyone has a question for Evan tonight.
Yes, it's Chip Levengood. I
Hey,
can't
Chip.
get my hand to go up.
Please, yeah.
Do you know the Roberto Clemente Health Clinic in Leon?
Yes.
You know Julia?
I don't.
Would you like me to introduce you to Julia?
Of course.
Okay, we'll have a separate call off. I know Julia fairly well.
That would be really nice. Thank you for that.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
and I'm the one who was on the board in Nicaragua, and I've lived in Central America, so
you know what's going on down there.
I used to know it better than now, but I did.
Fabulous. Thank you, Chip. Any other questions? And I just want to thank all our speakers from the nonprofits who took the time to put together, these introductory presentations. They said it was really helpful to learn about your work and the impact you're having and how the Yale community can support you. Should have also say it is Giving Tuesday. If board membership is not something that fits with you right now, but you're moved by one of these organizations, I'm sure they would appreciate any kind of support you might want to send their way. I very much want to thank all the participants for taking the time, for your interest in YANA, for your interest in board service, for coming tonight to learn about these organizations that are in the YANA community. So I find this evening very inspiring. I hope all of you did, and hope to see you at another YANA event.